Evan Fielding vanished without a trace in the middle of Burning Man, and his sister Lena has spent every moment since uncovering the truth. What she found buried in the Nevada desert wasn't just her brother's trail, but a terrifying secret the festival has fought to erase. Evan Fielding wasn't new to the chaos of festivals. With a camera in one hand and a drone in the other, he made a name for himself documenting the strange corners of subcultures that most people never saw. Burning Man, however, was something different. In 2019, he returned to Black Rock City, hoping to capture something unique, something raw. What he didn't know was that it would be his last shoot. He arrived 4 days before the event's official start with his small crew, 2 audio techs and a fellow filmmaker. They set up camp near the outer rim of the city, a spot favored by veterans who preferred distance from the louder mainstream installations. Evan was focused, more intense than usual. He told his team he'd heard rumors of an underground element that operated just outside the official map, a sort of shadow festival within the festival, where invites were rare and cameras were forbidden. On the third night, just past 11 p.m., Evan left camp alone, bringing only a backpack with spare batteries, his camera, and a small drone. He said he wanted to capture fire-lit structures on the far edge of the playa, where few attendees ventured. His crew didn't think much of it. Evan often wandered off for hours to film spontaneous performances or surreal installations. But this time, he didn't come back. By morning, there was still no sign of him. His tent was untouched. His radio silent. They searched the nearby camps, asked rangers, even posted on the local digital message boards. The general attitude they received was passive, even dismissive. "People disappear all the time here," one ranger said. "They always come back, eventually." That same afternoon, a dust storm swept through Black Rock, obscuring visibility and complicating any search effort. Hours later, when the storm cleared, one of Evan's audio techs spotted something half buried in the sand about a mile from camp. It was Evan's drone, smashed and scorched, its memory card missing. Nearby, they found his backpack, torn at the seams, but nothing inside except an empty water bottle and a map fragment with illegible writing. His camera was gone. There was no blood, no trail, no tracks. They returned to the ranger station, desperate, but were met with shrugs. "He probably left the area or got disoriented," the lead ranger said. "The desert swallows things." By the time the festival ended and thousands were packing up, Evan was still listed as missing. His friends filed an official report, but the case was lost in the noise of post-event cleanup. Weeks later, the Bureau of Land Management issued a brief statement. No evidence of foul play, likely heat stroke or disorientation, but those who knew Evan knew something was off. He was careful, well-prepared, and never careless with gear or logistics. Most of all, he had a plan, a route, a schedule, even emergency flares. Something had happened to him that night, something deliberate. And it didn't take long for others to start asking, what had Evan really found out there, past the dust, beyond the lights? 2 months after Evan's disappearance, a plain white envelope arrived at Lena Fielding's apartment in Portland. No return address, no postage marks. Inside was a single sheet, a folded map of the Burning Man festival grounds. It looked like a standard event map at first glance, with labeled installations, camp zones, and safety perimeters. But someone had marked it up with red ink, sloppy circles drawn around obscure outer regions, far beyond the main thoroughfares. Some were labeled with strange names: Camp Obsidian, the Fourth Gate, Mimir's Well. None of these appeared in official documents or attendee apps. In the corner of the map, a phrase had been scribbled in block letters: "The ones they don't report." Lena knew little about Burning Man, but she recognized her brother's handwriting at the bottom of the page. Just 3 words: "Keep going west." The message chilled her. She hadn't known he planned to explore anything off-grid. The fact that the map had made its way to her, unsigned and untraceable, suggested someone else had known where Evan had gone and had chosen not to speak until now. She posted a digital copy of the map on a niche subreddit dedicated to unsolved festival disappearances. The post quickly gained traction. Other users began sharing eerily similar experiences, accounts of distant camps with no names, guarded entry points, and masked gatherings in the dead of night. One person claimed to have been chased away by figures in black robes after stumbling too far past the temple. Another said he'd seen structures in the far playa that vanished by sunrise, leaving behind no trace but circular burn marks on the ground. A user named LostSignal777 uploaded an image that stopped Lena cold. It was a blurry aerial photo from 2019, taken by a drone. In the lower corner of the frame, barely visible in the grainy resolution, was Evan, standing alone, staring toward a cluster of tents situated in one of the same red-circled areas on her map. He hadn't been filming. He hadn't even been holding his gear. He was just standing there, hands at his sides, as if waiting. Forum speculation exploded. Who had marked the map? What was Camp Obsidian? Why did so many of the sightings happen just outside official boundaries? Despite all the noise, Lena received no follow-up from local law enforcement or Burning Man officials. When she forwarded the map to the Nevada Bureau of Investigation, she got a form letter reply. "Thank you for your information. At this time, the case remains closed. No further action will be taken." But she wasn't ready to let go. Something felt too orchestrated, too hidden. She began compiling a personal file, images, coordinates, eyewitness reports, and started cross-referencing the locations on the map with historical satellite data. Some areas showed disturbances, as if something had been buried and unearthed. Other areas were mysteriously blacked out on government aerial scans. The more she looked, the more she began to suspect Evan hadn't just wandered off. He had discovered something, and someone didn't want it to be found. The desert gives up secrets slowly, but sometimes it buries them just deep enough for the wind to uncover. In January of 2021, a man hiking through the Black Rock Desert stumbled upon something glinting in the sand. At first, he thought it was just trash, an old aluminum can or a discarded phone case. But as he got closer, he realized it was a GoPro camera, partially melted on one side, its lens cracked but intact. He brought it home, curious, and managed to extract fragments of video from the corrupted memory card. What he found wasn't just odd, it was terrifying. The footage began with disorienting movement, as if the camera were being carried hastily in someone's hand. There was no audio except for heavy wind and a low, rhythmic thumping like a distant drum beat. The desert stretched wide and dark, lit only by small, flickering fires on the horizon. The camera tilted upward for a moment, capturing something strange, what looked like a large metallic structure shaped like an inverted pyramid. It shimmered, not from lights, but from reflective surfaces covered in symbols. The structure wasn't part of any known Burning Man art piece. It had never been mentioned or photographed before. The next clip was even more unsettling. The camera appeared stationary, propped against something. Figures moved around a central fire, all dressed in black with animal masks, jackals, deer, something like a crow. They didn't speak. They stood in silence, watching something or someone on the ground. Then the camera zoomed slightly, focusing on a man tied to a post, unmoving. His face was hidden, but his build, hair, and clothes matched Evan Fielding. The final clips were corrupted, but fragments remained. A hand holding a curved object, something sharp. A glimpse of someone kneeling, then collapsing. The last frame was a close-up of a hand, shaking, its fingers coated in blood and playa dust. Then, blackness. The hiker who found the camera uploaded the footage anonymously. It spread quickly across niche forums, true crime subreddits, and independent YouTube channels before being flagged and removed from nearly every platform. The original uploader never came forward, and attempts to trace the video's metadata led nowhere. Still, People downloaded and preserved what they could. Digital forensics experts attempted to restore the corrupted files, but got little more than distorted audio and glimpses of strange symbols carved into wood and metal. Investigators on Reddit cross-referenced the GPS data embedded in one of the working video frames. The location matched a red-circled spot on Lena Fielding S-map, an area known to be outside the officially patrolled Burning Man zones. Lena saw the footage only once, before it vanished from the mainstream web. She saved every frame. She was sure it was Evan in the video. He had found one of the secret camps, and it had cost him everything. Now she had more than rumors and maps. She had evidence. But the silence that followed was louder than any outcry. No media coverage, no formal investigation, just a growing suspicion that something at Burning Man was hidden in plain sight, and that Evan had gotten too close to it. In late 2022, a fire tore through a small house on the outskirts of Reno, Nevada. The victim was identified as Jude Callahan, a former Burning Man volunteer who had worked with internal operations for 6 years before abruptly cutting ties in 2020. Authorities deemed the fire accidental, citing faulty wiring, but those who knew Jude suspected otherwise. He'd grown increasingly paranoid in his final months, refusing to use phones, installing blackout curtains, and telling neighbors that they were watching. At first, no one took him seriously. After the fire, they started to. Days later, a private investigator hired by Jude's estranged brother went through the charred remains of the house, searching for anything salvageable. Beneath the floorboards of a crawl space under Jude's bedroom, wrapped in fireproof foil and duct tape, the investigator found a thick leather journal, scorched at the edges but mostly intact. Inside were years of notes, cryptic, detailed, and deeply unsettling. Jude had written about something he called the Deep Burn. It wasn't an official camp or art project, but a secret collective embedded within the culture of Burning Man, operating on the fringes beneath the surface. According to Jude, the Deep Burn was older than most attendees realized, existing long before the mainstream explosion of the festival, when only a few hundred people made the journey to the desert. Its members, he claimed, held their own version of the event, an invitation-only gathering conducted miles beyond the festival perimeter. There were no lights, no music, no art cars, only rituals and rules. He described hidden meeting points, signals passed through handmade totems, and cleansings meant to purify the soul through sacrifice. He never used the word murder, but the implications were clear. Several pages focused entirely on Evan Fielding. Jude wrote that Evan had been seen recording the wrong fire and that he had crossed through the fourth gate without offering. What the fourth gate referred to remained unclear, but Jude seemed fixated on it. He said those who passed it without permission were marked, first watched, then hunted. Jude also mentioned others who had vanished, including a medic in 2017 and a ranger named Camille who stopped returning calls after volunteering for off-grid patrols. On the final few pages, Jude's writing became erratic. He scribbled repeated warnings: "Don't face the flame. If you're marked, don't look back, and no one escapes once the fire chooses." His last entry was just a single sentence written in large, shaky letters: "They burn the truth to keep the legend alive." When Lena Fielding received a scanned copy of the journal from the investigator, it confirmed what she had long feared. Her brother had stumbled into something deliberately hidden. The Deep Burn wasn't just a myth or local folklore. It was real, operating under the cover of a global event where strange behavior was expected and questions were unwelcome. But what disturbed her most was how detailed Jude's notes were: names, dates, sketches of symbols, coordinates. He had been preparing to reveal something, and now he was dead, burned, like the evidence he had tried to protect.